You wash your face at night and you can feel them before you even see them. Those shadows along your cheekbones, that dark smudge above your lip that looks like you forgot to wipe something off, the patch on your temple that keeps spreading, slow and quiet, like it has all the time in the world and you've done everything. The vitamin C serum your cousin swore by, the prescription cream that burned for 2 weeks and did nothing, the chemical peel that cost you a week's paycheck and faded the spots for about a month before they came back angrier. You're tired, not just of the spots, of hoping, of spending, of standing in the skincare aisle reading labels you don't understand while some 20-year-old with poreless skin tells you what you need. So let me tell you something they don't teach in dermatology school in the West. 1,000 years before anyone invented a laser, Buddhist monks in the mountains of southern China were writing down skin formulas in silk-bound manuscripts. Formulas that worked. Formulas that the emperor's wives paid fortunes for. And when modern medicine came along with its patents and its billion-dollar ad budgets, those manuscripts didn't get studied. They got shelved. Because you can't put a trademark on a plant that grows wild on a hillside, but the plants are still there. And they still work. Let's get into it. Number 6, white peony root, or as the old Chinese texts call it, bai shao. You've probably seen peonies in a garden and thought they were just pretty flowers. Turns out the root underneath is where the real magic lives, and it's been showing up in imperial beauty formulas since the Han Dynasty. That's not a typo, 2,000 years. Now here's what's happening on your face, melasma and dark spots. They're not really a skin problem, not at the surface anyway. They're your melanocytes, the little cells that produce pigment, going into overdrive. Hormones, sun, stress, inflammation, they all flip the switch. And once that switch is flipped, regular creams are basically knocking on a door that's welded shut. White peony root works on the inside. It contains a compound called peoniflorin, and researchers have found it actually calms down the enzyme tyrosinase, which is the thing telling your skin to make more pigment in the first place. You're not bleaching the spot, you're turning off the factory. There's a reason Yang Guifi, one of the most famous beauties in Chinese history, was said to drink a peony root decoction every morning. Her skin was described in poems written over 1,000 years ago. People didn't write poems about moisturizer. The way you use it is simple. You get dried white peony root from a traditional Chinese herb shop or online. Simmer about 9 grams in 2 cups of water for 20 minutes. Drink it once a day, preferably in the morning on an empty stomach. Give it 6 weeks before you judge anything. Skin cells take that long to turn over. And that's just the beginning, because the next one, this one surprised even me when I first learned about it. Number 5, pearl powder. Yeah, actual crushed freshwater pearls. I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like something out of a fairy tale or a scam infomercial. But stay with me for a second. Pearl powder has been used in Chinese medicine since at least the Liang dynasty, around 1,500 years ago. Empress Wu Zetian, the only woman who ever ruled China as emperor, she used pearl powder on her face every single day into her 70s. And historical records from the time describe her skin as being like that of a young woman. If you're sitting there with melasma creeping across your cheekbones that won't respond to anything, you already know how desperate this feels. You try one thing, it fades a little, then it comes roaring back twice as dark the next summer. Pearl powder works in a way that's almost embarrassingly simple. It's loaded with calcium, amino acids, and trace minerals. But the real player is a compound called conchiolin. Studies out of China and Japan have shown that conchiolin helps accelerate skin cell regeneration and actually suppresses melanin production at the source. One study I remember reading found it could reduce tyrosinase activity by almost 40%. 40%. From ground-up pearls. You can take it 2 ways. Internally, about half a teaspoon mixed into warm water or tea once a day. Or externally, mix a pinch with a little honey or aloe vera gel and apply it as a mask twice a week. Leave it on for about 15 minutes and rinse. I've had patients in my own practice who swore they saw a difference in a month. And look, I'm not saying it's a miracle, but I'm saying empresses weren't stupid. Number 4, pearl barley, or yi yi ren in Chinese. You've probably had this in a soup and didn't know what you were eating. It's not the same as regular barley. Different plant entirely. And it's been a staple in Chinese beauty medicine for, again, over 1,000 years. Japanese women call it hatamugi, and if you've ever wondered why Japanese skincare brands keep putting it in their lotions, now you know. Here's what's going on. Dark spots and melasma are often tangled up with something called dampness in traditional Chinese medicine. I know that word sounds weird in English. Think of it as sluggish lymphatic drainage, inflammation, water retention, the stuff that makes your skin look puffy and dull and uneven. Pearl barley drains that. It pulls the stagnation out of your system. And when the inside clears up, the outside follows. Modern research has actually backed this up. Pearl barley contains coisinolide and other compounds that have been shown to inhibit melanin synthesis and even have mild anti-tumor effects on abnormal skin cells. If any of this is starting to click for you, if you're realizing that what you've been doing all these years just wasn't the right approach, you know what to do. Stick around. I've got a lot more of this coming, and I don't dilute any of it. The way to use pearl barley is genuinely easy. You can simmer about 30 grams in water for 45 minutes and drink it like a broth or throw it into soups and kanjis. Japanese women traditionally drink hatamugi tea daily. One small caveat: don't use it if you're pregnant. It's one of the few herbs where that actually matters. Now the next one is where things get interesting. Number 3, mulberry leaf, sangyi. If you grew up anywhere near a mulberry tree, you remember the fruit staining your hands purple. But the leaf, that's what the old herbalists were really after. Silk farmers in ancient China noticed something strange. The women who worked with the silkworms, handling mulberry leaves all day, they had remarkably clear, even skin, well into old age. And somebody paid attention. Here's why it works, and honestly, this part blew my mind the first time I read the research. Mulberry leaf contains a compound called koyic acid precursor, along with something called mulbericide. And mulbericide has been studied extensively, particularly in Korean and Chinese labs, and it's been shown to inhibit tyrosinas more powerfully than hydroquinone in some trials. Hydroquinone is the stuff dermatologists prescribe for melasma, the stuff that's been banned in Europe because of safety concerns. A leaf does it better, and the leaf doesn't come with the side effects. You really have to sit with that for a second. Think about how much money has been spent marketing synthetic skin lighteners to women across the world, while this plant was sitting there the whole time, used by silk farmers, growing wild, free. The way to use it is as a tea, dried mulberry leaves, about 6 grams, steeped in hot water for 10 minutes. Drink 1 to 2 cups a day. You can also make a cooled infusion and use it as a toner on your face. Press it gently into the skin with a cotton pad after cleansing. The effects on hyperpigmentation are gradual, but they're real, and they stack the longer you use it. And the next one is something I use myself. Every single morning. Number 2, goji berry. Yeah, the little red berries that suddenly became trendy in smoothie bowls about a decade ago, except they're not trendy at all. They're 4,000 years old. Li Shizhen, the most famous herbalist in Chinese history, wrote about them in the Compendium of Materia Medica in the 1600s. And there's this legend, probably half true, half myth, about a man named Li Qingyuan, who supposedly lived to 256 years old, and goji berries were part of his daily routine. I don't believe the 256. I do believe the goji berries. Now, how does a berry fade dark spots? It comes down to 2 things. First, goji is absolutely packed with antioxidants, specifically zeaxanthin and beta-carotene, at levels that are almost hard to believe for a food. These compounds neutralize the oxidative stress that triggers melanin overproduction in the first place. A lot of melasma, especially the kind that shows up after pregnancy or sun exposure, is basically your skin responding to damage. You calm the damage signal, you calm the pigment response. Second, goji supports liver function. In Chinese medicine, the liver is intimately tied to skin quality, and modern research has caught up, showing that liver detoxification pathways directly affect how your body processes hormones that trigger melasma. Goji gives the liver what it needs. The way to use it couldn't be simpler. A small handful, about 15 to 20 grams, chewed straight out of the bag in the morning. Or steep them in hot water for 5 minutes and drink the tea, then eat the softened berries at the bottom. I do this every day, for years now. And I'm not going to tell you my skin is perfect, but I'm in my 50s and I'll leave it at that. All right, the last one. This is the one I tell every patient who walks in with melasma. If you only take one thing from this whole list, this is it. Number 1, Chinese angelica root, dangui, sometimes called female ginseng, though that name doesn't really do it justice. This is the heavyweight, the one that court physicians reserved for the women of the imperial household for over 1,000 years. And when you understand what it does, you'll understand why. Melasma, especially the stubborn kind that shows up on your cheeks and upper lip in that butterfly pattern, is almost always hormonal at its root. Pregnancy, birth control, perimenopause, stress. Your estrogen fluctuates, your melanocytes go haywire, and suddenly your face looks like a map you didn't draw. Creams don't touch this because creams can't reach the hormones. Dangui does. It's been used for blood and hormone regulation in Chinese medicine for at least 2,000 years. There's a reason they call it female ginseng. It contains ferulic acid, ligustolide, and a handful of other compounds that modern studies, including ones published in peer-reviewed journals in the last decade, have shown to regulate estrogen metabolism, improve microcirculation in the skin, and directly inhibit melanin production. It's working on 3 levels at once: hormones, blood flow, pigment. That's why it hits so hard, and there's history behind this too. In the Tang dynasty, women of the court drank dangui decoctions weekly, not as medicine, as beauty maintenance. They understood something we forgot. Your face is a reflection of what's happening inside. You can't paint over a problem that's coming from your bloodstream. The way to use it takes a little more care than the others. You want about 6 to 9 grams of dried dangui root, simmered in water for 30 minutes, drunk as a tea maybe 3 or 4 times a week, not every day. It's powerful. And if you're on blood thinners or you're pregnant, you skip this one entirely and talk to somebody who knows your history. But for most women dealing with melasma that nothing else has touched, this is where I've seen the most dramatic results in my own practice over and over again. Give it 3 months, real 3 months, and watch what happens. So that's 6 plants. 6 things that have been quietly working for thousands of years while we were busy buying into whatever the beauty industry decided to sell us this season. None of them are expensive, none of them are complicated, and none of them are going to show up in a glossy magazine ad because nobody can patent a peony or a mulberry leaf. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud. I know how discouraging it gets. Looking in the mirror and feeling like your face isn't yours anymore. I've sat with women in my clinic who cried over this, and I never treated it like something small, because it isn't. Your skin is the first thing you see every morning. It matters. Just be patient with yourself. These plants work slowly, the way real things do. Give them time. Take care of yourself. I'll see you soon.